According to the Smashing Pumpkins, the world is a vampire. This lyric probably doesn't apply to real life, but it can certainly apply to these 10 classic vampire films. In preparation for Halloween, I compiled a list of some of the best and most popular movies that revolve around the creatures known as vampires. My name is Lainey, and this is Movie Mania. Going through movie history, my goal is to give you insight into all types of films. Today's topic is the vampires of cinema, so let's sink our teeth into these films. The oldest surviving vampire film is 1922's Nosferatu. The film revolves around Count Orlok, a mysterious man who terrorizes a German town. The appearance of Count Orlok is one of the most iconic images in the history of early cinema. The film has a continuing impact on horror and vampires today. Controversy also surrounds the film, due to the direct plagiarism of Bram Stoker's novel Dracula and the anti-Semitic themes present in the film. Nosferatu, for better or worse, is one of the most influential films ever created. The most iconic vampire deserves an iconic film representation, and that is the case with 1931's Dracula. The film follows Count Dracula as he begins a reign of terror over London. Bela Lugosi commands the screen with his portrayal of the titular vampire. Along with its status as a classic story, it also bolstered the popularity of Universal horror films. Dracula is definitely worth the watch. 1932's Vampire is an early and underrated vampire film that is just as important as Dracula and Nosferatu. The film follows a man obsessed with the occult who discovers a village under the spell of a vampire. The film is somewhat based on the novel Carmilla, which was even published before Dracula. While the film is not viewed highly on release, the film is now praised as a classic vampire tale. This next film just happens to be my favorite horror movie. Horror of Dracula, released in 1958, is one of the most popular Dracula films. The story follows a similar story as other versions of the tale, but with the renowned portrayal of Dracula by Sir Christopher Lee. Lee would go on to play Dracula in 9 more movies. The setting and colorful atmosphere create a fantastic version of the film. It also helped kickstart the popularity of horror films from the British studio Hammer Film Productions. Horror of Dracula is a must-watch. What would you do if you thought you were an 84-year-old vampire? This idea is the main premise of 1977's Martin, a film that follows the titular character who drinks blood, but doesn't even have fangs. Even with its graphic nature, Martin is praised for being a genuine thrill ride. The director, George A. Romero, is no stranger to horror. Romero is known as the father of the zombie film because of his creation, the Night of the Living Dead franchise. While zombies are his most popular monster, Romero makes it clear with this film that he is a true master of horror. What's a better combo than Stephen King and vampires? Salem's Lot, the 1979 two-part miniseries, adapts King's work of the same name. The film follows Ben, a writer who travels back to his hometown and discovers a terrifying truth. The residents are being transformed into vampires. With a vampire that has a similar style to Nosferatu's Count Orlok, Salem's Lot creates a terrifying tale with an equally terrifying monster. The miniseries continues to remain a popular spin on a vampire tale. Fright Night is a 1985 film that begs the question, what would you do if your neighbor was a vampire on a killing spree? The film mixes this concept with the fun of 80s horror to create one of the most popular horror movies of the decade. The flick would spawn a sequel and 2 remakes attempting to continue the frightening experience. Fright Night is a fun and campy watch, so I recommend it to all. The next film follows 2 brothers who discover a secret about their new town. A frightening gang of vampires. 1987's The Lost Boys is one of the most popular modern vampire films for a reason. The punk and moody atmosphere of the film continues to inspire vampire adaptations today. Another highlight from the film is its killer soundtrack, including the likes of INXS and Echo and the Bunnymen. The Lost Boys is a classic. This next film is a cult classic that introduces us to nomadic vampires. Near Dark, released in 1987, follows a man who is bitten by a vampire, which forces him to become a part of a gang of vampires. While the film was originally a flop, over the years, it has gained a lot of attention. The dark and gritty nature of the film makes for a horrific experience. This last classic is based on a novel by the same name. 1994's Interview with a Vampire follows the lives of vampires through the centuries. Starring Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, the all-star cast and fantastic atmosphere create an excellent gothic vampire film. Interview with a Vampire is a great watch for anyone interested in an amazing vampire flick. Well, that concludes this episode of Movie Mania. I hope you enjoyed this series. If you did, like and subscribe. If you have any questions or ideas for future topics, comment down below. Thanks for watching.